cause of the fire, the fire chief's going to talk about a little bit here, is still under investigation by the Pennsylvania State Police Fire Marshal. So the manner of death at this point in time is going to be undetermined, pending investigation of the origin of the fire. Okay, and my office, excuse me, my office has yet to make an official death notification to family. You know, since this fire occurred on Friday, my staff has been working tirelessly trying to locate and make that notification to family. I'm going to have one of my deputies, Ira Hart, speak to you in a little bit of what goes into making these death notifications and the time that's required in that process. Do you folks have any questions for me before I turn it over to the fire chief? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, well, good morning. I'm Jim McCann. I'm the fire chief of the City of Johnstown Fire Department. Our units were called to the address on Bedford Street. The time of the alarm was 4:59 p.m. The initial reports we were receiving en route were that they believed there were fireworks going off or exploding. That turned out to be oxygen cylinders. So when the individuals in that side of the house was on home oxygen, and those cylinders are what were exploding, which aided to the growth of the fire and the progression of fire. Our firefighters did an excellent job of making a good interior push into the fire. We employed what we call a transitional fire attack, knocking the bulk of the fire down on that porch, on the side, on the what we call the Bravo side of the structure. While at the same time, crews were pushing in the front door. They found the interior stairway to be burned out already, which prompted us to have to use ladders to enter the second floor on the exterior, at which time the victim was located. The fire was suppressed and the victim was protected in place until, proper removal of the victim could be completed. I've been in contact since the fire with the State Police Fire Marshals. They were on scene. They were called to the scene, started their investigation right away, and I've been in contact with them throughout the weekend, Friday night, and of course throughout the weekend. And they're still waiting for a couple pieces that they're looking at before they can roll on the cause of the fire. So the fire is currently being listed as still under investigation.
I guess when you involve oxygen tanks, at least you have a little bit more unknown or angst trying to fight that fire as well too.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they were exploding, and several. I don't have the exact number of cylinders that did explode. There were several that exploded. One is our guys were making in the interior attack. One went off. It was in a remote room than the front room where they were making entry. None of them were injured due to that. But as I was coming up Bedford Street in my squad, I could hear them as I was coming up the street, exploding. So, and we do get that a lot where, the general public doesn't really understand what they're hearing a lot of times. A lot of it can be perceived as fireworks going off and things like that. But it definitely aids to, the growth of the fire as well.
I guess, is there anything that ones that are out there using oxygen tanks now? Is there any way that they can try to help, I guess, I know they need to use them, but any way to basically help, unfortunately, if there is a fire occurring there in that type of scenario?
Well, absolutely, and storing them properly is a big thing. Naturally, none of us count on predict a fire occurring in our residence. but having them in a safe space. And a big thing is not having too many of them. A lot of people that are on constant home oxygen have a machine that produces this oxygen as well. But there's a need for backup, I understand that. But when you have an amount of cylinders, and it's extremely flammable, so maybe limiting the amount of spare cylinders you have and having those cylinders located in a safe spot. Do not store them near an exit or an entry into your residence that can impede your ability to get out in case of a fire as well.
How many were there?
We don't have an exact count on them right now. State Police Fire Marshal, will be an actual part of this investigation. So until that investigation is complete, I can't comment on all that stuff.
Jim, do you want to comment just a little bit on, with the winter months fastly approaching, about smoke detectors, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide furnaces running to alert the public to make sure?
And absolutely, and what the coroner is referring to is having some proper devices within your residence to alert you in case of a fire. Smoke detectors, and we cannot talk enough about the importance of smoke detectors in your residence. Now this, what I'm speaking about now, is remote from the fire investigation or anything of that nature, so this is not a relevant discussion to have. Well, I should say a relevant discussion to have because of that, but as it leads to any type of investigation of that fire, this is completely remote from that. But we tend to lean towards the winter months is things like that, and when we talk about smoke detectors, but this should not be a discussion for this time of year, it should be a discussion for every time of year. Fire grows and doubles in size every 30 seconds. So what's burning nowadays isn't what was burning years ago. Or if you look at our furnishings in our homes and things like that, majority of them are plastics, petroleum-based products, which definitely aids to the growth of fire, the heat exchange of fire, when we talk about the BTUs or the fire load you have in your home and things like that. So with these type of furnishings we have and the types of clothing and furniture and what have you, it leads not only to the growth of the fire, but the production of smokes and toxic gases that will quickly, consume or fill a room full of those toxins. It really limits your ability in the time frame you have to exit your home. Anything you can do to aid in that only helps you and your family's ability to survive something like this. All right, any fire, and don't think that it has to be a fully involved fire. It can be a simple, what we call room and contents fire. That smoke moves quickly. It builds pressure within the home, which allows that to move throughout the home quickly. So having that line of defense of a smoke detector is paramount. A working smoke detector on every floor is a minimum. We'd like to see them on every floor, we'd like to see them in every bedroom. The quicker that you can be alerted to that fire, the quicker you can respond to get yourself and your family out of that fire. So having those. In addition to that, carbon monoxide alarms, extremely important. In today's day and age, when we're dealing with homes that are energy efficient and everything's sealed up tight, that doesn't give the ability for this to freely and error-free to exchange within our homes. Carbon monoxide can build up over time. So the majority of the detectors out there will alarm at 25 parts per million, some will alarm at 35 parts per million. That gives you more than ample time to exit your property. If your carbon monoxide alarm does go off, exit your property. Do not open doors and windows. All right. As you leave, get out to a safe spot. Call 911. Your local fire department will come and investigate that. When you open your doors and stuff like that, it allows your area to ventilate, which makes it more difficult for us to determine what's producing that carbon monoxide. Anything that burns produces carbon monoxide. So to think that I, have electric heat, that I can't, I don't have a worry about carbon monoxide. Well, that's not true. there's also outside influences connected to this as well. So making sure that you have that proper line of defense. Fire extinguishers. So having a fire extinguisher, having it in an area that's conducive for you to use. Fire extinguishers should be located near exits. So when you get to that exit and you grab that fire extinguisher and you turn to face the fire, if you feel you can put the fire out, fine. If not, you exit the building. All right. We really need to respect fire and the growth of fire and how quickly it can overcome. And the smoke. It doesn't take long for that smoke to maybe not even incapacitate you, but to, have its effects on you, where you become disoriented and things of that nature. Home fire escape plans. How do you get out of your home in case of a fire? Having a proper meeting place. We've all had instances where we've lost power in our house, and as we walk through a room, we bump our foot or our leg or something on a couch or something like that. So imagine that in a completely dark room. Now we've introduced the fire aspect and the smoke aspect to it. How do you get out of this house? Train your kids. I know for some, when we've talked to some, where it can become, they're worried about scaring their kids and having a scary experience with their kids. Well, and I appreciate that, but by the same token, a lot of people's natural reaction is to hide, which makes it more difficult for us as firefighters to locate these people. We have devices, we have thermal imaging and things like that, but they do not see through everything. So practicing those things, a meeting place. As we respond in on a fire and life safety is paramount. So as we respond into a fire, that's what we're going for. When we arrive on scene, and when that first fire engine arrives on scene, to have somebody come to them and say everybody's out of the residence. Now, we can change our tactics of how we're doing this. If we don't know that, or you go into a neighbor's house and don't tell us, then we're going in searching for people. So having that meeting place, notifying the fire department when they get on scene, working with your local fire departments. Smoke detectors, and we'll get back to those real quick. The American Red Cross, and I'll provide for you guys a number that you can promote. American Red Cross will provide free smoke detectors. So the caveat to that is, through the program, the firefighters have to come and install them. So the reason we do that is to make sure they're installed properly. So they're free of charge. So in the city of Johnstown, the ordinance for rentals is the homeowner or the property owner must provide those as well. So if you're in a rental and they're not provided, notify the fire department, notify our codes department. In the remote areas outside the city, they're available as well. There's fire departments. City of Johnstown is one. It's teamed with the American Red Cross to provide these as well. So we'll provide the number to you. They call this number, they make an appointment, they give it to us, and we go out and we install these smoke detectors. But there's a lot of things that you can do to help promote fire safety in your own home. So we ask that you do. And if you have questions on this, call your local fire department. They don't want to experience things like we had Friday night. They want to make sure you're safe, and that's part of what they do. So working with them as well is extremely important. We always say at the beginning of the first week in October is Fire Prevention Month, or Fire Prevention Week, excuse me, but every week should be Fire Prevention Week. So keeping that in mind, moving forward in our heating seasons, to make sure that our furnaces are inspected properly, our flues are inspected properly. Anything that has a flue, maybe a gas hot water tank, making sure that is vented properly. And they're operational, right? That's always a big thing. We get into the Christmas season now, and we see a lot of displays in the homes and outside to make sure you're using the proper extension cords, we're not overloading circuits and things like that. Granted, these things look beautiful, but don't make them become an issue and make your holiday season worse because you're using products that shouldn't be used. One thing we always say is power strips are not very good. And the last plug on a power strip is not where you plug in another power strip. We've seen that numerous times, and it's a huge hazard. So making sure that everything you do related to this, you think about that. So think about the fire safety aspect of it. If you have questions, reach out to your local fire department. They'd be more than happy to help you. And that's what we do in the fire service. You know, we're not only reactive, we're proactive as well in trying to help, you know, the people that live in our communities.
Jim, is there any other advice you can give elderly or handicapped or somebody?
Well, sure, and getting back, and I'm glad you brought that up. So American Red Cross also provides what we call bed shakers. So if you are hard of hearing and maybe you wouldn't be able to, you know, hear a smoke detector go off, or you have another disability would, you know, that you would not be able to react because of either the noise aspect of it or even the visual. You know, we can get flashing smoke detectors. They have smoke detectors that talk now. But they also have what they call bed shakers that if they go off, you know, they put it between the mattress and the box spring, it shakes the bed to alert you as well. So there are things out there. We just have to research it, ask the questions. You know, and we'll do what we can through these other agencies that are more than willing to help.
Back to the fire. I guess, yeah, with this type of fire, even if the fire department was like right beside it, this is one that probably would have been hard to get to, even if you were there right away.
Exactly. We were provided with video and pictures from bystanders. You know, as we were arriving on scene, we were advised by our 911 center that they were taking multiple calls on this. Engine 3, which is just located, you know, not that far from the scene, arrived on scene quickly. The fire was already well involved at that time.
And I guess that, does it kind of make it harder? Is that why you're kind of have a little harder time, I guess, with this investigation of the fire, that it moves so quickly and so much of it?
Correct, and we want to do our due diligence in this as well. We just do not roll on the fire based on a time frame. You know, you want to make sure that all the evidence is collected, evaluated properly before you roll on something like this, and any fire for that, you know.
And I guess, I didn't know the residence itself, but yeah, I guess, anybody else left homeless?
There was also a male that lived on that side, and 2 individuals on the other side of the duplex. This was a small duplex. We had, the Red Cross was on scene that evening, working with those families to provide them some immediate relief, as well as, you know, working to get them some temporary housing until they could get back on their feet.
You said there was a male on the other side, but obviously not related or anything.
That you know, that's part of the investigation between, you know, city police and the fire marshal's office. I believe that was a boyfriend of the individual that was residing there as well.
So can you confirm, are you sure if it was a rental and were there smoke detectors in the house?
That's part of the investigation right now, so I can't comment on that right now.
Okay, I'm gonna let Ira say a few words on making notification and trying to get hold of this family.
Good morning. My name's Ira Hart. I'm a deputy coroner here in Cambria County. Thank you for coming, because this is going to be a very important part of our investigation. We're trying to make notification to next of kin, and to this point we haven't been able to find them. So going out to the press, and hopefully somebody can recognize the name and call our office with information that leads us to notify those kin. When this starts, we use all our resources, law enforcement, multiple places on the internet we go to search. We search back to where multiple addresses where they may have lived and find family in that area. It's a very important part of our job. We actually get pretty emotional about it, because we feel that next of kin are the most important to notify and let them know. So we put a lot of resources and a lot of time into finding next of kin. And it's not always that easy. You might think that, oh, somebody knows somebody, but so far we have not been able to find anybody that was related Miss Bufford. Her and her boyfriend had been together for 26 years. However, he states that she was estranged from her family, and that makes it very difficult for us. She's not originally from this area, so we're reaching out to those areas to try to find her family and make that notification.
How long had she been living locally?
So she had been locally in Cambria County for about 26 years.
Is there any other particular areas that possibly she might have relatives in that might be listening to this?
So I have multiple phone calls out. It looks like she originated from the Williamsport area up in Lycoming County. So we're working with the police departments up there also. They have been wonderful to work with this morning, and they're out there knocking on some doors for us, and hopefully we can make that notification.
So yeah, definitely, as far as you believe, a Pennsylvania native.
Correct. So again, thank you for being here and help us with our investigation. We truly appreciate that.
Anything else for anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sasha.
Talk a little bit.
Sleeping?